So for this last session of TPAC, basically wanted to talk a bit about task attribution, which is feature and underline like some infrastructure I built for Chromium, which I think can open up interesting possibilities, and I'd love to see what y'all think. So essentially, in the last, I don't know how many years, there has been a common theme whenever I asked people, why can't we have things? So for soft navigation heuristics and being able to keep track of the fact that the user clicked on something and that triggered some other activity on the page, the answer is like, we can't do that. We can't do long task attribution. We can't know what the resource timing initiator is. We can't do cross-task prioritization because we don't really know what JavaScript task was the initiator of this other JavaScript task. And if we wanted to do that, we'll have to look into the JavaScript stack, and that is expensive, and we cannot really do that in runtime, definitely not for performance monitoring purposes. Yeah. So I essentially, basically, I really wanted to have soft navigation heuristics and all these other things, like all these other things also seemed useful. So I went ahead and built a way for us to know when a JavaScript task initiated another. Generally, the use cases I have in mind for this were theoretical use cases where this can be useful. So soft navigation heuristics, I want to, like right now, Chrome as a browser collects data about how fast navigations are or aren't. But we know nothing about what happens inside of SPAs. And single page app community has been claiming for the last 10 years that SPAs are so much faster, and other folks have been claiming that SPAs are so much slower, and no one knows. And we need to know. So I'm like in the process of trialing out soft navigation heuristics that are based on task attribution that will essentially tell us when a soft navigation has happened, and then we'll be able to refire LCP and FCP after that heuristic is triggered and start collecting some of that data, at least initially as like in Chrome. I'm aiming for an origin file that will also enable run providers to collect the same data, compare it to their current heuristics, tell me where I'm wrong, rinse and repeat until we get the thing right, and then hopefully ship it as a WebExpose API. That's the plan, and that's a use case I care a lot about. The other use case is long task attribution. We've been hearing from developers, like we shipped, Chromium shipped long tasks 4 or 5 years ago, I don't know, but we keep hearing from developers that it's great to get, like, to know that the main thread was busy, but it's very hard to actually do something about it without field attribution, because it's very hard to know which one of your 35 third parties is the one that actually ate up your main thread. And task attribution will also enable long task attribution and enable us to tie, at the very least, the URL of the main instigating JavaScript to this long task. Then resource timing initiator info, I think it would be very useful to help RUM providers be able to create dependency trees from resource timing and be able to know, okay, this JavaScript loaded this 5 other resources, which then loaded this, and basically be able to tie back, like attribute the bytes that were consumed to this initial JavaScript or initial resource. It's always that. But yeah, and essentially be able to better attribute what, like, for example, if you have LCP somewhere in this dependency tree, you can draw the, the critical path for this LCP and then somehow make it faster. All kinds of things will be possible. Magic. And finally, or I'm not finally, cross-task prioritization seem like also a useful primitive. So right now we have priority heads. We can deprioritize a script, but then everything that it loads can be high priority. And it would be good to be able to propagate this fetch priority to the script. Similarly for post task, we can prioritize a task that we're posting, but we can't prioritize right now, the priority of the tasks that it will execute. So if you can have a low priority task that then queues up high priority tasks, and it would be good to be able to propagate this and, for example, contain some tasks or contain some make sure that some JavaScripts always run in low priority or in high priority, and be able to have that kind of control across tasks. And I think finally, we have cross-task, potentially privacy protection. So we could say that certain scripts, for example, won't be able to access high entropy APIs, or will be able to keep track of the number of bits that a certain script accumulates throughout its life with the various tasks that it triggers, even if they're spinning them with set timeout or post task or queuing micro tasks. We'll be able to keep track of that and provide that accountability to the amount of bits that each script collects, and then maybe do something about that. Okay, so how does task attribution work? At a high level, each new task creates a task scope. If there are new tasks that are created while another scope is active, that scope is declared as its task's parent, and the current task is the descendant. And we have task IDs that are passed to V8, and new promises that are created while a task is running are also assigned with that ancestor ID. So they're not like, continuations are not new tasks, but they know, like they basically are all part of the same task ID. This is currently, all I said is an implementation detail. I would love for it to become eventually a web platform concept, not something that is directly exposed to web developers, most probably. I haven't heard of compelling use cases to directly expose it, but it seems like if we wanted to build all those things, we would need to figure out a way to say all the things I just said, in spec language and spec concepts tied to the event loop, most probably. And so I basically wanted to share that with y'all and hear your thoughts. And with that, can we stop recording? Yeah, 1 second. Thank you.